Welcome to today's exciting presentation on the science of retention, how performance impacts app revenue. We're thrilled to have you here as we dive into a critical topic that directly affects your app success. In the next 45 minutes, we'll explore the pivotal role that app performance plays in user retention. As we all know, poor app performance can be a major contributor to users leaving, leading to a domino effect on your ad spend and revenue streams. To ensure you get the most out of this section, we have set aside some time for Q&A at the end. Don't hesitate to ask any questions during the webinar. Please feel free to send me a DM or drop a message in the group chat. In the event that we can address all your questions within the section, rest assured we'll follow up with you individually. And guess what? We are recording this session, which will be made available on our website next week so that you can always revisit the content and share it to all your friends, families, and coworkers who might be beneficial from this. Without further ado, let's dive right in. So first of all, we'd like to say hi. Today, we have Misha, our esteemed product scientist and the visionary founder behind the Adventure Awaits app. Misha has a proven track record of optimizing app performance for companies of all sizes, achieving a remarkable enhancement of up to 40%. Though she doesn't like to share her food, she has a lot of performance insight to share, and I recommend you to take her out on a buffet and ask her all your performance-related questions. And you have me, Scarlett, who have been developing different products for mobile app developers to drive revenue, previously via advertising, currently via performance enhancement. I love to share food, so I also recommend you to take me out to buffet. But that's not it. We're super excited to have Alex here, our special guest who has over 10 years of experience in helping mobile app developers, including large enterprises such as Sephora, Wells Fargo, and Gap, with a user acquisition and retention strategy. So stay tuned. So now you might be asking who we are. Well, we are a team of professionals driven by the profound passion to, number one, deliver exceptional mobile user experience, despite the limited resources that you will encounter compared to desktop environments. Number two, empower engineers with performance engineering insights and techniques because let's admit it, performance engineering can be really overwhelming. Number three, we want to democratize performance engineering, making it accessible to all so that we can all help to reshape the mobile experience that you and I will enjoy together. So we're super excited to present the solution on which we have tirelessly worked on and always iterating based on customer feedbacks. Our product consists of two major components. The first entails our cutting-edge instrumentation, where we only instrument what matters. And then once the setup is finalized, you can effortlessly attain performance insight in two simple clicks. While I could talk about our product all day, every day, and I know you love to hear all about it, we have not reached to that point of our presentation yet. We'll begin by exploring the various revenue models that drive apps revenue success today. Understanding these models is crucial because they lay the foundation of how you can generate revenue. After that, we'll discuss why performance is more than just a feature. It is a key driver for revenue success. Then we'll dive into the science of user satisfaction and uncover how seamless app performance directly impact user experience and satisfaction levels. Of course, we'll introduce PS Tool, how it can be your best companion with some real world examples so that you can learn how to integrate performance analysis as part of your app life development cycle. And lastly, as mentioned previously, we'll open up the floor for any questions. Any questions before we start? Nope, then let's go. If you're here today, you probably already recognize the importance of app revenue. But why? Why do we care? Why should you care? The app market is experiencing explosive growth, with an ever-expanding army of developers creating a constant stream of new apps. This trend has led business to tap into this potential for immense profits. However, the cost of app development varies significantly, and it is expensive. While some apps can be developed for as little as $5,000, other can exceed millions. The figures on the right here should provide you a rough estimate based on development team hours and app complexity, but they actually bear in mind that they don't encompass ongoing expenses such as app updates, maintenance, and scaling costs. These updates are an integral part to app development cycle and can vary based on version and significance. This is why you will see major tech companies by that, I mean like giant tech companies have dedicated teams of people to manage and scale their apps. And this is why it is crucial for app developers to strategize how you can generate revenue to sustain your business and achieve profitability. Here are some of the most popular app revenue models, but of course, not all. So the number one most popular is actually in-app advertising, which is projected to reach a staggering 472 billion by 2027. It's hard not to imagine because with 51% of global mobile user exclusively accessing internet on smartphones, there are a lot of potentials with activities like gaming, messaging, and shopping apps for ad engagement. How you would do it normally is developer would collaborate with ad monetization platform and integrate their SDK to display ads within the apps. However, to fully capitalize this strategy, it is important for you to have a substantial user base that regularly engages with your app and therefore engages with your ads. Next, we have in-app purchases that provide users with the opportunity to access service, such as conducting transactions like hotel bookings, Airbnb reservation, purchase additional features, subscribe to content, all the good stuff. But in order to ensure a continuous stream of revenue, it is necessary for users to keep coming back, remain engaged, and make all these purchases and conversions. While many apps available for free download, paid app offers a distinct approach. Their revenue relies on attracting users who are willing to pay for app access. For consistent and sustained revenue though, developer must concentrate on steadily expanding their user base, usually fire a lot of ad campaigns, user acquisition strategies through ad spend, and they also usually need to consider adopting a mix of app revenue model that we mentioned previously, such as in-app purchase or in-app advertising to achieve steady revenue growth. So who is good at math and what is the common denominator for achieving success across all these revenue models? The answer lies in having a substantial user base that consistently engages with the app. Without users who return and regularly interact with your app, none of these models will work. Then the next question we should be asking and need to address is, why are my users leaving and how can I retain them? Could it be due to a poor user experience? While this might be a contributing factor, but a casual Google search reviews instances of bad UX in many well-known apps that's still dominating the App Store charts. So this might not be the only factor. What about bad design? Certainly, people prefer aesthetically pleasing over those who are not. However, if your app provides service that people need, hey, Craigslist has a basic design and people still love it. Could it be that my app promotion is problematic then? Perhaps improper app placement? Indeed, all these can play a role. However, based on our experience and research, the truth lies with performance. You see, before diving into overall UX, promotion, and design consideration, your app needs to perform. Poor performance like lagginess, slow loading, crashes is not only detrimental to your brand, but also to potential user engagement. Therefore, the leading reason users refrain from returning to an app is, as you may have guessed, poor performance. Let's dive into Walmart as an example. WalmartLab's a technology incubator under Walmart identified performance issues with a web page and dedicate a Scrum team to investigate this performance issue. They collect load time data for key pages and search for patterns. The finding revealed a significant correlation between performance and conversion. Take a look at the graph on the right. Customers who convert are those who had made and made a purchase are those who experience pages load twice as quickly as those served to non-converted shoppers. The same pattern persists when they analyze pages by categories. Here, you can see that individuals who didn't convert were those who had to endure a 2 to 3 seconds delay. And in the graph below here, we can see that we observe a strong correlation between performance and revenue. For every 100 million seconds for improvement, they achieve incremental revenue growth up to 1%. This implies that for every 1 second delay, they're losing 1% of their revenue. That's a substantial loss of potential conversions. Admittedly, this research was conducted 11 years ago and was primarily focused on desktop. However, it is essential to acknowledge that user experience for a seamless experience are continuously rising, especially for mobile. According to a global study by Yahoo, Gen Z loses active intentional media after 1.3 seconds, less than any other age group. A report by Think Storage now discovered that 70% of mobile users will abandon an app that takes too long to load. Now, I can keep providing you with all the data, go on and on, but I figure I should stop my monologue at this point. And I also believe that having an industry veteran who have over 10 years of experience will be way more interesting than me just going on and on. So today, we're super delighted to introduce Alex, who will be joining us for a Q&A section where he will share his insight around the critical role of performance. Hi, Alex.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today. We're super excited to have you here because your extensive background and leadership roles in various ad agency, and of course, your experience as the measurement leader at AppsFlyer, it is evident that you have possess a deep understanding of advertising performance. But I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts on mobile performance, particularly with issues like slow loading, delays, and crashes. Would you say that performance issues like these are important to mobile app developer?
Absolutely. So, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I love the topic. I love all of the metrics so far. This is sort of like a passion for me in the sense of I have a very strong opinion about this, given my experience working with advertisers. So to elaborate a little bit and answer why I think it's absolutely the case. I mean, I think just think about, if you're watching this webinar, think about your own usage. I would wager, and I know also from some metrics, that most of you have a ton of apps on your phone by now. And if you're like me, you have, I'll go through my example. I have a couple different running apps. I have more than a couple different travel apps. And so long story short, if given the metrics that we've seen just before, and I've seen this also in helping brands with their advertising program, if your app is not performing, then you're creating an opportunity for users to switch to the next competitor. And I want to say that what's worse, arguably, than losing potentially a customer because your app is loading too slowly, it's losing that same user to the direct competitor and then having them being at risk of sticking with the competitor in the long term. So to me, absolutely critical to have your app performance in order before you even start standing up large advertising programs, because what you absolutely don't want to have, which is the same overall topic, is a leaky bucket. You drive people to your app, maybe they love the concept, and then they end up leaving it because the performance does not meet expectations. That's what you want to avoid.
That makes total sense to me, especially the part, it just reminds me that usually when I try to use some food delivery app when I'm hungry, and then if the food delivery app A doesn't work, I just immediately switch to another because I'm so hungry. So thank you for sharing that insight. And I'm curious, how do you think, with your experience, how do you see poor performance can impact app developers then?
So I have two examples for a little bit more context. I've worked with large brands. You can see on the screen spending millions of dollars, annually on paid media acquisition. But I've also, worked with smaller developers, early stage startups launching their apps. And I think, first of all, on the early end, or the sort of the smaller end of the spectrum, obviously, if you don't have a product that's ready to hit the market, assuming that you want to start promoting it at scale, it's not going to stick with consumers. And so, essentially in my career, I've seen some examples of being hired as the person, driving the strategy and running an app acquisition program to scale an app. And then realizing when the app promotion started that the app was not up to par because essentially retention was horrendous. And then we looked into the specifics of the app, and then we saw that maybe there was a form or like a sign up flow that was way too slow or not optimized, or then maybe there were some elements of the app that were not working. But the other example that I really love, that was very telling to me, was more on the bigger end of the spectrum with one of these large brands. So I'll give the anecdote. I was once running one of these big media programs, more than tens of millions per year in media spend. So a well-oiled machine, right, across multiple channels and so on, driving users to both website and an app. And so in this context, me and my team were running ads for this big brands, actually several people working on the same campaign. And then because it's a sophisticated brand, we had constant performance monitoring, and more specifically tracking ad performance, which makes sense, return on ad spend. So we had a constant pulse at any given time from our paid campaigns on what was the return on ad spend in any given day. Long story short, one day we woke up, all hands on deck, we got a message from the brand as the agency in this case. And it's like, the return on ad spend is nosediving. What is happening? Did you guys break something? What's up, right? And so again, long story short, what we ended up doing was, obviously doing QA across the board. Did we set up campaigns wrong? What happened? And we ended up finding that for this specific brand, which is a beauty brand, there was actually a problem with their product feed. Now, for a little bit more advertising context, one of the ad types that we were running for this brand was dynamic ads, which shows product from a product catalog, right? So the product catalog feeds into what you actually see on the ads, and then feeds into where you actually land on the app pages, right? The product pages. And so the product feed being broken, without getting into the technical details, led to two things. One, the ads were not loading properly, empty creatives. So that kills your click-through rate on the ads. So that's the first impact. But arguably the worst impact was that if people still click through from the product catalog being broken, they would be driven to the wrong product page, or potentially a page that was broken, so a broken link. And so, you can tell immediately the impact. You can have a major sophisticated brand. You've optimized your campaigns. You know exactly what's working. If you have an app performance related issue, like in this case, you will see your performance immediately nosedive. And that's something that's, inherently super critical to keep a pulse on, because you don't want to have this sort of surprise and this sort of fire drill.
Yeah, wow, that's definitely some substantial loss there. So I'm curious, what advice would you like to share with our audience regarding performance?
So, I think we've established that it's pretty critical to keep, an eye on your app performance. Personally, and this is why I said at the beginning that I was passionate about this topic, coming more from a paid advertising background, if you ask me about the decision tree across app performance, app promotion, all the elements that you covered, I would actually say that having your app performance in order, right? Having your app performance optimized essentially is the first in that decision tree before actually scaling your advertising. Because again, if your app doesn't work well, then you're just going to end up wasting ad dollars. But to go into more practical advice, what I've seen before is, one of the things that you want to do is keeping the pulse of your consumer or like your user sentiment. There's a few ways that you can do this, some of which doesn't necessarily scale, but you will be shocked how often we've spotted app performance issues just from, and this is the example, looking at comments on ads or comments on posts from the brand. So, a lot of times customers will see something broken in your app. They will comment and say, hey, this ad is not loading, this, your app is not working essentially. So that's one way that's more, sporadic that you can use. But obviously what you want to do beyond this is having performance monitoring in a way that scales more. And on that line of thought, I would say two things. The first one is you want to have performance monitoring at all times. You don't want to be surprised by, anything broken, any load issue, anything like that. But then even better, the second aspect is you ideally want to have a proactive way to address issues if they arise. And by this, what you should really be looking for is a solution that doesn't just tell you something is loading slowly, something is broken, some app is not loading, or some page is not loading, sorry. You actually want to have a product or a solution that tells you what might be broken, what's the nature of the issue that you're seeing. And that's because, knowing that something is broken or something is not working well, that's not really helpful by itself. You actually end up, sort of like running around, everything is on fire if you don't have the tooling to know exactly what might be broken. So that's why I would say, don't just look for solutions to monitor performance, look for solutions that tell you to the best extent what might be the performance issue, so you can QA diagnose right off the bat. And then the last thing I would say is, if you do end up realizing that you have some issue, whatever it might be in your app, make sure that you proactively communicate to customers, right? The best case scenario is you find something proactively, you fix it, no one has seen it, or like the impact is minimal. But if you find something bigger that takes more time to fix, don't try to hide it from your customers. It's actually better to be transparent about it through whatever channels you have to communicate with your users than trying to pass it off as it's normal. And then you might see that if you do this, if you do have a significant issue and you're transparent, and then you communicate proactively about it, customers will actually appreciate it. And that might actually help preserve some of the loss in retention from having an issue.
Yeah. Wow. I really, it's really refreshing to hear that you say we should be really transparent and upfront to our customers when there's like performance issues, because usually when people experience those issues, immediately we went into like fight or freeze mode and just want to fix things as soon as possible and forget that it's important to communicate with the customer first. If you know that it's going to take some time.
Absolutely. Now, the only way you can do this, again, not to, like beat the point to death, you cannot be transparent if you don't have at least some idea of what might be happening. So that's critical. If you just know something is broken, obviously you cannot be transparent because you cannot explain what's happening.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for all these comments. Based on what he said, I know exactly the right tool for you guys. But before we jump into that, I want to open up the floor to see if there's any questions that our audience might have for Alex while he's here. Let me check chat. All right. Looks like people probably still formalizing, absorbing all these really great content, and no questions for now. So with that, thank you so much again, Alex, and I'll pass it to Misha.
Thank you. Yeah. And thank you, Alex. I listened to you like hypnotized, very insightful and interesting. So let's dive in my part. You've heard it earlier, but let's repeat it again. Common performance related pain points. Imagine your favorite mobile app. What keeps you coming back? Chances are not just the content, it's the smooth and seamless experience you enjoy. This experience is heavily influenced by app performance. Slow load times, unresponsive interfaces, and frequent crashes can quickly turn users away. On the other hand, a well-optimized app that responds swiftly and reliably creates a sense of satisfaction that leads to loyalty. Now let's talk about the science behind user satisfaction. Imagine you're playing a mobile game that you absolutely love. You're so absorbed in the game that you lose the track of time. You're completely focused, everything else fades away. You're in the zone. That feelings, my friends, is what psychologists call the flow state. For example, think about a puzzle game like Candy Crush. When you're in flow, every move you make feels intuitive and satisfying. The game responds instantly to your touches, and there is no frustrating lag. Your mind sync with the game. You're making progress effortlessly. You're not just enjoying the game. You're in a state of complete engagement. Or let's consider a shopping app. Imagine you're browsing through the app, looking for a specific item. The app search function is lightning fast, and the product page loads smoothly. You find what you're looking for without any hiccups. In this moment, you're not just shopping, you're in a flow where the app's performance matches your expectation perfectly. Oops, you spend a few $100s on cute kids' dresses, thanks to a seamless shopping experience. So what's the link between these two, this flow experience and app performance? Well, it's all about how the app responds to your interactions. A laggy app can break your flow. It's like trying to have a smooth conversation with someone who keeps pausing mid-sentence. It's jarring and frustrating, right? On the other hand, a responsive app and smooth app becomes an extension of your thoughts. It's like a well-choreographed dance where your actions and the app's responses are perfectly synchronized. This alignment generates positive emotions, a sense of accomplishment, satisfaction, even joy. To achieve maximum efficiency by eliminating unnecessary steps, reducing bottlenecks, and minimizing the risk of errors, you need a magic pill. Just kidding, you need a product science tool. Because product science offers the world's first platform to enable proper performance engineering for mobile app developers pre-production, including the ability to visually see their app's performance, automatic instrumentation, AI-driven cloud analysis of app performance, and first ever multi-threaded performance measurement and trace for mobile apps. I won't dive in tool demonstration because we have the live product demo. You can check it out on our website. And before showing you how product science tool can help you to boost your app performance, let me tell you my personal story. I like to hike and simply walk around the city, but I have 2 kids. This could be the end of it because every time we step out the door, things quickly turn into a struggle or persuasion, even blackmail, you know, if you parent. Long story short, we decided to create an app with quests and virtual character that will help parents motivate their children to go for a walk. Animated videos should involve kids in adventure, but the loading time was so long and you know, kids, they can't wait. Product science tool showed us that the video's loading has postponed as it awaiting the inflation of the view and its readiness for rendering. At this trace file, you can see that this exoplayer for video started to load only 5 seconds later when the view was ready. Starting loading content before the view is inflated and ready to render can save a lot of users' wait time. As a result, smooth user experience, kids happy, want to spend more time in your app, share that story with friends, engagement soars like a rocket. You can turn on in-app advertising, in-app purchases, or another app revenue models that Scarlett mentioned before. But if you're not about hiking and prefer spend time on the sofa, browsing social media, it's fine. No judging here. Do you remember this example that I showed earlier with this unresponsive scroll? Look back, right? Product science measurement feature of flow stacks indicate that the delay for the scroll audience is due to frequently running expensive functions. This check member states, I don't know if you see it, but it takes more than 7 seconds when users scroll audience for this part. Our overall recommendation is to avoid and performing expensive operations on the main thread whenever possible. This will help to achieve a smoother scroll experience. So you can enjoy your social media time without annoying delays. At the end of my part, I'd like to highlight that continuous monitoring and analyzing app performance is crucial for several reasons. Regular performance analyses help identify and address issues that impact user experience, such as slow loading time, unresponsive interaction, or high error rates. This optimization leads to higher user satisfaction and engagement. By monitoring performance metrics, developers can catch and resolve issues earlier before they escalate into major problems. This proactive approach minimizes the impact on the users and reduces the need for emergency fixes. Analyzing resource utilization helps identify inefficiencies, enable developers to optimize code, reduce memory consumptions, and enhance battery efficiency for mobile devices. As an app's user base grows, performance issue can become more pronounced. Continuous analysis ensures the app can scale effectively and maintain a high level of performance under increased load. Apps with poor performance are more likely to experience user churn. By consistently improving performance, you can retain more users and reduce churn rates. A well-performing app is likely to receive high ratings and positive reviews from satisfied users, which can attract new users and enhance the app's reputation. In essence, continuous monitoring and analysis of app performance not only maintain user satisfaction, but also drive the app success by aligning it with user needs, improving its functionality, and enhancing its competitiveness in the market. So now I will pass to Scarlett to recap the key takeaways from the webinar. Scarlett.
Well, so what's the science that we learned today? First, performance is key to the success and revenue of your app because it significantly influences your user experience, satisfaction, and brand perception. We have learned how detrimental that can be with lagginess, slow crashes, those kind of things that can be harmful to your brand and therefore user engagement. So what you should do is stay proactive about your mobile performance because like Alex mentioned, sometimes issues with performance are only visible when churn rates are high, making the recovery process really challenging and costly. And what you can do, again, quoting Alex, pay attention to your customer feedback, look at your app store, your customer might be giving you hints around what is going on so that you can have better understanding, you can stay more proactive and on top of it. And of course, use tools like product science tool on top of your existing monitoring system in place, because we can help you immediately identify the root cause and therefore help you resolve all these issues faster and so that you can deliver a more delightful user experience for users. And with that, it concludes our main content today, and I'm opening up the floor for any questions that our audience might have.